Well, shalom, shalom. It's Brother Osmawath once again with another lesson. First and foremost, we're going to give our praise and honor glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shah, by Hashem Rakah HaKodash, and as our praise to the Heavenly Father, in His Son's name, who the world, in the cause Jesus Christ, real name in the Hebrews, Yahweh Shah. And I also want to say shalom to all the sincere-hearted Akim and Akwath, making your body a living sacrifice. I want to give double honors to my elders who taught me this truth. And we're going to jump straight into it. All right, we're living in some dangerous but yet beautiful times, right? It says, this is off of RT News, and it says, France's mandatory health pass with government issued QR codes for access to everyday life is the start of a dystopian nightmare. See that? So here we go. All right. So basically, this devil once again, because the French, they're a part of the same the beast system, man. Which is consisted of NATO and the EU, and then you have Babylon the Great, which will be the whore that Revelation 17 speaks about, and they basically all in one mind to complete the same task at hand, and that's to establish, this new world order. All right. As a matter of fact, let me grab this real quick, and Revelation 17. I'll start at verse 12. And it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. And those 10 horns, once again, is going into the NATO and the EU. It says, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Right? And NATO and EU, they're ruling along, with Babylon the Great. It says, these have one mind. See that? These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. See that? So they all have one mind, right? They all have one mind, and that one mind is going to basically be a catalyst to establish that new world order, right? That one world order, right? The reason why it's a one world order is because they have this one mind, they have this one agenda at hand, right? And this isn't something that man concocted or man conjured up and said, you know what, we want to establish a one world system. No, this was already preordained, and as we can see, already scripted, man, right? That this was in the plans and intents perfectly of Yahweh Shema Shah. That's why we're reading it right there in the scriptures, right? So let's read this again. France's mandatory health pass with government issued QR codes. And someone who doesn't know what a QR code, here it is. All right, you could just simply Google it. QR code, abbreviated for quick response code. It's a type of matrix barcode with dimensional barcode. All right, it was invented in 1994, but nonetheless, that's what it looks like right there. All right, so you can see how this world is already in this digital era, right? And right now, as you can see, how this lady is showing her QR code basically to this officer. This is eventually your phone is about to be, null and void. That QR code is going to be right there in your hand, man, right? And that's fulfilling Bible prophecy in Revelation 13:16, right? When it speaks about that grain of rice or that chip, man, right? And I can't say it how I want to because they're going to flag the video, but for you studious brothers and sisters out there, who want to know, read Revelation 13:16. We got plenty of videos already discussing that breakdown, right? Because we in a time, man, to where if you don't know anything right now, don't be ignorant of it, because your salvation is at line right now, man. Your salvation is at line, and this is not the time. As a matter of fact, this is not the time to be neglecting your salvation, right? Because your salvation is where you're walking this truth. I guess you could equate it to someone manicuring their lawn. If you stop upkeeping that lawn, then you're gonna have weeds growing tall in the building in and of itself, and you're gonna have all types of critters and unwanted guests there, man. Right? But you got to maintain your ways in this truth. You got to maintain it. As a matter of fact, let me start right here. This is Hebrews 2:1. He says, therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard. See that? So the things that we've been talking about in these lessons, Salaki, give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. So the things that we've been going into in these lessons, all these prophecies, man, in Israel, Israel has a, an, an attention span to where they pay attention to things that they want to pay attention to, man. They don't pay attention, for a large majority of the part, it's really going to the 2/3, they don't really pay attention to things that's basically beneficial to their salvation, man. Right? They forget those things, but anything that's worldly, they're going to remember it. They're going to give an earnest heed to it. All right? You turn on, any of these, rap artists or whatever, Israel, they're going to remember all the lyrics, but can't remember one scripture, man. All right? It says, therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard, lest at any time we should let them slip. Right? We should let them slip. He says, for if the word spoken by angels was steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just recompense of reward, how shall we escape? See that? How shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation? See that? So just like you neglecting that yard, right? You have a lot of our people, they're neglecting their salvation, not paying attention to the matter at hand, right? And the matter at hand has every bit to do with prophecy, man, right? I don't care what's going on, in your own individual personal life or your family's life or, or whatnot. You got to pay attention to what's going on at hand. You can't neglect this. Let's go into this word neglect. I'm just curious to see. Neglect. To be careless, to make light of. See that? To make light of. You can't make light of this truth, man, right? You got to understand the reason, why Yahweh Shema Shah woke you up and brought you to this truth, right? He brought you back to your first love. That's not something that you should make light of. It says, be negligent, no regard. We already know many of our people pay no regard to these things, man. Right? But that's them neglecting their own salvation. He says, how shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation, which at the first began to be spoken by the Lord and was confirmed unto us by them that heard him, right? And the Lord reveals his secret things unto his servants, the prophets, right? And his word has been confirmed, right? Through Yahweh Shah and then the prophets, man, right? So it will behoove you to take heed to these prophecies because as you can see, man, right? We've been talking about this. We've been talking about this for months. And here it is, here it is. I believed it when I saw it, but it was at the same time when I saw this head, I was like, wow, things are really progressing very quickly, So let's read a little bit into this article. And it says, President Macron's announcement that citizens must adhere to a C-19 jab schedule or pay for nose swab tests every 2 to 3 weeks to live any semblance of a normal life. See that? This isn't a normal life, man. If you got to take a damn test every 2 to 3 weeks, that's not a normal life, man. It says this is the final nail in the coffin of civil liberties. And you never had civil liberties. This devil, always had his hands around you, right? But now he's just tightening the grip, right? He says in the dead of summer, just a couple of days before the July 14th Bastille Day national holiday, when many French citizens had tuned out and left the big cities for some respite from a long stretch of sanitary restrictions, including months of curfews, French President Emmanuel Macron took advantage of the lull to drop a bomb on their lives that were few expecting. See that? And we've been telling y'all that. We've been telling y'all that they was going to give you some freedom, around the 4th of July, so-called, around Independence Day, make you feel independent. And then shortly after Independence Day is gone, then they're going to drop the bomb on you, like he said. As a matter of fact, that's fulfilling this, or that's similar to what Paul has said in 1 Thessalonians 5. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. He says, for when they shall say peace and safety, because that's what the government was saying this summer. As soon as, it got warm outside, then they restricted. Then they lifted a lot of the restrictions, right? That's them saying peace and safety. So he says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, right? That's what the president just said. He dropped a bomb on them, man. Says, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. And you got to look at the similes and the metaphors and the proverbs that scriptures places, man. Places the end times or likens it unto, right? Like a woman giving birth, right? A woman, she has those contractions every now and then. She has those moments of peace. Then she has those moments of travail, right? But there's going to be a day when it's very unexpected. And when you're most comfortable, when you're most at ease, then your water breaks and there's no turning back. Well, that's the time we living in, man. We're these what do you call it? These contractions, they're getting more and more frequent, right? But pretty damn soon, man, it's gonna be full on. It's gonna be full on water breaking, man. And those waters symbolize nations, right? And that water that's going to be basically going forth, right, is Esau. When you read Isaiah 59, says that Yahweh Shah, he's going to set up a standard, right? He's going to set up a standard. And as a matter of fact, let me just get that scripture. It's Isaiah 59 and 19 says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, see that's those flood waters. That's when that's when the waters break. When the enemy come in like a flood, see that? And Esau's about to come in like a flood, man. Right? Your homes are about to be toppled over with this man. Neighborhoods about to be toppled over with this man. We're gonna have MRAP vehicles and army tanks, and from an aerial point of view, the way how Yahweh Shah sees it, right? He literally sees Esau moving like a wave. Because if you were to look at some of those ancient war movies, I don't know if you've ever seen like the movie, Troy or whatnot. When those two opposing armies came in clashing together, it literally looked like waves, man. Because you had people rising, you had people falling. Well, that's about to be Esau. It's coming in like a flood. He says, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. And what's a standard from a flood? The sand. You go out to a beach. What stops the water from coming up to the to the buildings on that seashore? The sand. Well, Yahweh Shah is going to be that sand. He's going to be that standard that's basically going to tell Esau no further than this. Right? Because once again, he controls this whole scenario that we see, right? And everything that's going on in France, of course, we already know they're tied in with this beast system with the EU, and it's going to trickle over here to Babylon the Great, also known as Mystery Babylon or the Great Whore, right? Because they're all of one mind. So basically, the main reason why this video is even going out is to do what? Let me get this. This is Proverbs 22 and 3 says, a prudent man, meaning a wise man, foreseeth the evil. See that? We're foreseeing the evil, right? He says, and hideth himself, right? That's why this video is going out. Because if you're wise, you're going to hide yourself, right? And it first starts off with you hiding yourself where? In the refuge and with the confines of this doctrine, right? It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished, right? And we already know our people, 2/3 of our people and the heathens, they're simple. So they're just passing on, not laying to charge what the hell is going on, right? And even when they do see these things, they don't know where to hide, right? Because many people are taking refuge. They're just taking refuge in the wrong place or in the wrong places, right? You got some people taking refuge in Christianity. You got some people taking refuge in themselves, as if they're their own God, like they're going to save themselves. You can't save yourself, man. Why? Because you didn't put yourself in this predicament. Yahweh Shah did. That's why he said in Deuteronomy 28:68, no man shall buy you, meaning no man shall redeem you. That's including yourself, man. Right? He's going to be our redeemer, right? For you believing brothers and sisters out there. All right, let's grab this. This is John 14:29. And now I have told you before it come to pass. What is that called? That's a prophecy. It says, and now I have told you before it come to pass, that when it is come to pass, you might believe. Right? That's why these scriptures are going out. That's why these prophecies are going out. That's why Yahweh Shah, the testimony, his testimony is what? The spirit of prophecy, telling you things before it come to pass. So when you do see it to come to pass, then you'll be persuaded. Wow, I believe now, right? Because there is still a small window open, for repentance to go out, and for you brothers and sisters that's coming to this truth in the last moment. I myself barely made it to the skin of my teeth, man. And how much the more today, right? Because Yahweh Shah, all hell is subject to break loose at any moment now, man. Let's get this in Romans 13:11. And it says, and that knowing the time, right? And that's something that for a large majority of the part, our people don't know. Our people are horrible with time. They don't know the time, right? The average so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, especially, as Judites, we're horrible with time, man. Right? Well, that if you're off on this time, right, that's going to cost you your life. You can't neglect this time, man. He says, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time, meaning that it's the most chiefest time to what? To awake out of sleep. All right. He says, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. All right. Our salvation is nearer than when you first started believing. The moment when you first, realized that this was the truth and you started living that repentful lifestyle, up until that moment, all the way up until now, Yahweh Shah, he's nearer than when you even believe, man. Right? And that's time back in Second Ezra, the 9th chapter, all right, when he talks about how he's going to draw nigh unto the earth that he made. Right? He says, verse 12, the night is far spent. And we know what this night represents. It represents Esau, man. All right. It says the night is far spent, right? Because Esau, his kingdom is pretty much done, man. All right. He's already, it's already spent up for the majority of the part. All right. He started with the Greeks. That was basically the morning of his kingdom, right? The beginning of his kingdom. But now, is basically spilled into the nighttime, man. All right. It says the night is far spent. The day is at hand, right? And the day is who? Revelation chapter 22. The day star. Right? As a matter of fact, let's get it. This is Revelation 22, because that day is speaking about Yahweh Shah. Let's see. It's Revelation 22:16. I, Yahweh Shah, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David. That's a cut on the Immaculate Conception, that these Christians love to push, because he's the offspring of David, right? And what did Yahweh Shah, Salaki, what did Yahweh promise David? The sure mercies of David, and also that David will always have a king to rule upon his throne, right? And that's Yahweh Shah. He's going to be ruling forever, according to 2 Samuel chapter 7, Luke chapter 1, Hebrews chapter 1. All right. He says, and the bright and morning star. That's that day star, right? So he says, let's go back to Romans 13:12. The night is far spent. The day is at hand. Yahweh Shah is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, right? Cast off the works of darkness. This is not the time to be slipping and, going back into these worldly ways. We should have been cast those things off, man. Why? Because Yahweh Shah is not at the doors, man. He says, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us put on the armor of light. All right, so let's go over here to Matthew 24, starting at verse 42, because this is the, let's just read this title. It says, "Be ready for his coming." And this is a very important chapter, man, to understand this time frame that we're living in. He says, "Watch, therefore." And how do you watch? By the way of the prophecies, right? And the Lord has blessed us Israelites by giving us prophets, right? Because once again, prophets were known as seers, and they're the ones who were to watch out for danger for the nation of Israel, to warn us of these troubles and these tribulations that's going to come to pass. So Yahushua says, "Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come." All right, he says, "But know this, that if the goodman of the house had known in what watch the thief will come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up." So basically, if you would have known what hour Yahushua will come, right, you would basically, be prepared to not allow those goods to be spoiled, right? But because no one knows the hour, right, this is why you should be watching around the clock, man. Right? He says, verse 44, "Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh." So when you think like everything's going back to normal, when you think Esau's about to have full control of the planet Earth, right? In that hour, when you think that Yahushua is not going to come, that's the hour he's going to come. All right. And as plain as this is in black and white, once you're out there in reality, man, right, it's not going to feel so plain no more. Yahushua is going to put a huge delusion. He's already putting a huge delusion upon the masses of the people. All right. Let's keep reading. And it says, verse 45 says, "Who then is a faithful," right? "Is a faithful and wise servant." Let's go into that word faithful. Faithful, trusty, of persons who show themselves faithful in the transaction of business, right? And this is really going into, you brothers, who have taken the charge to, feed the lambs and sheep of Yahweh Shah, all right? Because this isn't our business, man. All right, this is Yahweh business, right? Which in return, it becomes your business. It should become your business, right? And you have to be faithful with that. So Yahweh says is blessed. Well, let's keep reading a couple of these definitions. It says, "One who kept his plighted faith, worthy of trust." Right, worthy of trust. So yeah, let's go back. It says, "Who then is a faithful and wise servant?" Because we know that the only ones who's going to be with Yahweh, according to Revelation, are those faithful ones. Says, "These shall make war with the Lamb." This is Revelation 17 and 14, going back into connotation of those 10 horns, right? They have that one mind with Babylon the Great. Says, "These shall make war with the Lamb," right? Because Esau really thinks that he can overtake Yahushua and his angels, man, with those chariots, right? He can't. "These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them." So Yahushua, he's going to overcome them. It says, "For he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings, and they that are with him," right? And who's with Yahushua? All right. Of course, we know the angels, but the elect is going to be with him. "And they that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful." See that? Called, chosen, and faithful. And it took it a step further after it said called. It said chosen. Because what did Yahushua say? "Many are called, but few are chosen." Right? But the ones that's going to be with them, not only are they called, but then they're chosen, and then they're faithful. Right? Because you have many brothers and sisters that have been called in this truth, no doubt. Definitely been called in this truth, but they have not been chosen and they haven't been faithful, man. And we're seeing that, man. Israel's going through, quite a bit right now. Right? And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Right? We know that judgment begins at the house of the Lord, right? According to 1 Peter chapter 4. All right, just looking at the history of Israel altogether. All right. That's why we've been punished while we're in captivity. All right. And these other nations aren't, because judgment begins with us. Right. So nonetheless, Let's go back. Matthew 24:45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? All right, because Yahweh Shah is basically going to break off the spoils of war with this Akim, man. Right, when he comes and takes the crowns and the rulership from all these nations, all the silver, the gold, right, the resources of planet Earth, it's going to be returned back into the heir's hands, man. And then the heir, which is Yahweh Shah, he's going to give it unto who it was promised to, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the elect, right? And then eventually it's going to be trickled down into the 2/3 is going to be regenerated back into the kingdom through the loins of the elect. All right. Verse 46, blessed is that servant, all right, whom this Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. All right. You want to be found, right? When Yahweh Shah comes back, you want to be found in his good graces, doing his will, right? Praying, fasting, meditating, teaching, whatever it may be. Now, we know when all hell breaks loose and Jacob's trouble is here, there's not going to be any teaching going on, right? All right. So you want to be found doing his will by having your mind girded, right? Having that right frame of thought, man. All right, he says, verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, right? That's the evil servant that says that, according to Yahweh Shah, says that my Lord delayeth his coming. And a lot of Israel feels like that, man. If Yahweh Shah was real, he would have been came back. No, your ass just don't understand the prophecies and the chronological order that they had to take place. This is why he commands you to watch, to stay occupied in prophecies. Because if you're occupied in prophecies, it'll be hard for you to have that type of mindset that Yahweh Shah's delaying his coming. You'll really be in the mindset of, dang, he's right around the corner, because you're looking at the prophecies, then you're looking into these news articles, you're looking into everyday life, and it's matching up, man. There's no way, right? And you have, many people amongst Israel who feel this way, who feel like Yahweh shall delay his coming. It says, but and if the evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, right? You start to treat your brothers and sisters bad, right? You start to lose that charity, start to lose that love for each other, right? He says, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and to drink with the drunken. Yeah, your heart is just too far off into this world, right? You're drunk once again, you're like a wine bibber, off of physical wine and the wine of Babylon, right? You're not in your right mind. He says, the Lord of that servant, right? So Yahweh shall come in a day when he looketh not for him. Yeah, when your ass is drunk, that's when Yahweh Shah is going to come. When you're not looking for him. He says, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and he shall cut him asunder and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. Why is he appointing your portion with the hypocrites? Because you were out there saying all these right things, right? Looking good in front of the camera, right? But your action showed otherwise. You were content. You had your feet kicked up, man, right? So he's going to appoint you your portion with the hypocrites, right? He says, there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? So, yep. Let's see. Yeah, I'll put this link in the description box, for anyone who wants to read this whole article, but that's pretty much all I want to grab off. And of course, don't forget about, those door-to-door jab enticements, that Biden administration has been setting up. They've already been going out to many people's homes, man, basically enticing them. Of course, the West is on fire, literally. Famine has already started. Man, what else? Man, it's a lot. It's a lot. You're just gonna have to continue to stay tuned, continue to stay locked in spirit, man, and you watch as well, right? So yeah, I guess with that, we'll go ahead and end it off. Until next time, Shalom.